So this is easily, by far, not even a competition. This is the most requested video for my channel. Easily. By like 3.5 miles. Or like, what is that, more than 5 kilometers? I honestly don't know why you guys like my thumbnails so much. I mean, I think they're pretty average, but you guys seem to love them, and I've gotten so many requests to make a tutorial. So today I'm going to be showing you guys how I make my thumbnails. So buckle your boots, boys, because this probably won't be that long, but it'll be at least a minute. So if some of you guys have used this program before, it's called After Effects. If you've used it before, you're probably confused because this isn't Photoshop. It's not meant for photos, but I use it for photos. The first thing before I even get into this, I just want to say quickly that don't do this with this program, guys. I just have a really bad workflow, and this works for me. If you guys are just getting into making thumbnails and you want to, step up your game, use Photoshop, okay? It's so much better. I've used this program forever. I know how to use it super well. But if you guys are just getting started, the thing is, what I'm going to show you right now, you can do in Photoshop. It's very easy. Just follow what I do and just do the same thing in Photoshop. Like if I add blur. Like it's not that hard. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So as you guys can see right here, I got myself a nifty little template that I made, and this is basically what I do to start off all of my thumbnails. Then I import some stuff and we make it look good. So let's go ahead and import what we need. So what I do first is I go ahead and I find the recording of myself looking like an idiot and making thumbnail faces. I import that, then I go through this giant folder of just random memes, and I try to find a Wiz background that I want to use. What we're going to be doing today is just making the thumbnail for this video, so you guys already know what it's going to look like. But alright, so we'll use the Fire School. Why not? Alright, so as you guys can see right here, I got my background. I got the video of me looking like an idiot, and then I got this Wizard 101 logo that I always use because it looks so nice. So yeah, unless I'm doing a video where I'm adding in like some other symbol, if there's any other symbols or if there's anything else that I want, I'll import it, but usually I don't use anything else. So now the first thing we're gonna do, and you guys can do this in any other program, as I said, is just take your video. I usually just take a video and then I just usually pause a frame. You guys can just take a photo if you want, if that's easier, but as you guys can see, here's me looking like an idiot making some thumbnail faces. This is basically what I do like for every video. This is actually what I used for yesterday's video, but as you can see, I make a bunch of faces so I can just sort of reuse them if I'm lazy. Alright, I don't know how I feel about this, but I'm just gonna use it anyway. Yeah, so basically all I do is I just scroll through this video until I find a frame that I like. I go ahead and I freeze frame it again. Again, please don't do this in After Effects, but just follow what I'm doing. You guys can do this in any other program. It doesn't even have to be Photoshop. Then what I'll go ahead and do is I'll go to the beginning, and all I gotta do is basically mask out my face. So we'll set this to full, and this is basically all we gotta do. I'm masking this kind of fast, as you guys can tell, but at the same time, it really won't matter. You guys will see in a second. Like, you don't want to make the mask super scrappy, but at the same time, you can usually get away with a pretty rough mask, honestly. Alright, so now I got my beautiful face right here, and what I'm going to go ahead and do is just feather it like 30 pixels, give or take, and as you can see, now the mask doesn't really matter. I'm also going to add a bunch of glow behind this, so it really won't matter at all. So I got this. I'm going to go back to my main composition here, and I'm just going to drag this in. As you can see, it's just a picture. I resize it a little bit. I record my thumbnails in 1080, and this is a 720 for my thumbnails, so we'll just resize it like that. That doesn't look too bad. We can adjust it later. Then I'll go ahead and turn off the text for now. Then basically what I do is I bring in the background like this, and I scale it up. I'm gonna scale it to about here, and then what I usually do, you guys definitely don't have to do this because it's just a really subtle thing, but I'll add some CC lens, which is basically a fisheye effect. And this is actually nice for this image just because if I take it off, you can see it obviously doesn't fit to the edges, but when I add this on, it does fit to the edges. I'm actually gonna scale this up a little bit because that's a little too distorted for me. But as you guys can see, it's sort of a nice little effect. You really don't need it at all, but it'll make your thumbnails look a little bit... It sort of draws the viewer's eye to the center, and it makes them a little bit more catchy, but at the same time, it's really not necessary in my opinion. Then what I'll do just to add this in, because you guys will just see how nice this looks, add in this Wizard 101 logo that I got, and set the mode to add, and then boom. As you guys can see, that's like basically most of my thumbnails. Sometimes, if I want to, I will brighten up the background just a little bit to make it look a little bit nicer. I can even add a little bit of contrast to the back. What I'm doing right now is all just really subtle stuff that you guys really don't need to worry about. Again, this is how I make my thumbnails. First of all, like, I don't recommend you copy them because that's like, I mean, other people do thumbnails like this too, but you know, please, if you're gonna take this video, you know, make your own style of thumbnail. I mean, you can definitely use this. Obviously, I'm making this for a reason so you guys can learn, but don't don't copy this exactly, please. That's just, I mean. All right, then what I'll do next is I will go ahead and add an adjustment layer, and I'll go ahead and add some glow. Actually, I'll add some FL glow because FL glow always looks nice. Then what I'll go ahead and do is I'll just mask lightly around my face like so. Boom. And then I'll go ahead and feather it a lot. And as you guys can see now I sort of pop out, and I will bump up the radius a little bit, change this, so we're gonna start getting a little bit of a rainbow effect, as you guys can probably see. All right, so now I got some glow on there. As you guys can see, I mean, pretty simple, pretty basic so far. Usually what I'll do is I'll mess with my actual, usually what I'll do is I'll mess with my face a little bit. I'll usually desaturate it a little bit and then add a little bit of contrast just because it makes it look a little bit nicer. It blends it a little bit with the background, which is always nice. There you go. See, so that looks like a little bit more, that looks slightly more blended. We'll actually take out a little bit more saturation. Yeah, there you go. All right, and then basically all I got to do now is add text, because this video isn't really going to have anything else. So as you guys can see, I hid my text layer from before, but this is my text layer right here. Obviously, if you guys have ever seen my thumbnails, I have 3D text. This is probably going to be the most advanced part of this tutorial by far. Doing this in Photoshop is probably going to require like a fair amount of skill, and I don't know if you need Cinema 4D to do it, because I'm pretty sure you can do 3D text in Photoshop itself, but I could be wrong. But you can always do this with 2D text. I mean, honestly, all you got to do is just like rotate it like this and just throw it up here, and it'll look 90% as good. But for me, I'm sort of a perfectionist, so I always do 3D text, and I will show you guys quickly how I do it, but I'm not really going to spend too much time on it, just because if you guys are looking for an in-depth tutorial on 3D text, you can look other places. So we'll say thumbnail tutorial. So we'll start off with thumbnail, which is a really long word. I really don't recommend using long words if you can get away with it, just because they're harder to position on the screen and they don't look as good. Basically what I just did is add this plugin called Element. It's a 3D plugin. It's not just for text. I'm really not going to go too much into depth on this, just because this is like an entire tutorial in itself, and I don't want to make this video super long. But as you guys can see, now I got my 3D text. I just added a little bit of a texture to it. I usually use this frost texture just because I can always adjust the color of it later, and it looks really nice. So then I'll put this in like this. I'll go ahead and I'll add a new light, like so. I'll drag out my light a little bit, and now I just got to basically reposition the text. So drag it up here. As I said, having really long words is super annoying, just because, as you can see, I really can't make it that long. So we'll slightly adjust the rotation here. I usually use the multi-object on here because, as you can see, I can play with the text like that, which looks really nice. I'm gonna move myself and this. I'm gonna move this over just so I can have a little bit more room to put my text in. Throw this up like here. You really want to make the text as big as you can. Like, that's sort of the goal, is to make it as big as possible. Obviously, as you can see, alright, tutorial. I would rather use something shorter, but I really can't think of a better expression to use, and this just, you know, pretty straightforward. So as you can see, I'm going to make my tutorial text a lot bigger, just because it'll be more catchy, which is always good. Do it like that. Probably put that down to like 9. And then we got that. So now I gotta fill this space a little bit, because as you guys can see, usually I use text that's like, usually I use words that are like 4 letters long because they fit in here a lot better, but this will still work. Thumbnail tutorial, as you guys can see, I'm gonna drag this down just so it sort of fills up the space a little bit better. I can even make this maybe slightly bigger. Alright, so there you go. I mean, I'm basically done. I'm gonna add a little bit of coloring to this tutorial text just because it's, you know, why not? I actually like that purple. Now, this is by far not my best thumbnail. I also did not, I mean, granted, I spent more time on this than I usually do. Usually these only take me like 5 minutes or so, but I'm like actually focused. My thumbnails are consistent, but some of them look better than others for sure. This is sort of a meh. Honestly, I don't know how I feel about this purple now. Let's see if I can do... Ooh, I kind of like that. That's like really subtle. I like that. Okay. We can add even a little bit more coloring to that. Alright, so I just changed... I actually like that now. That looks good. The other thing you can do is I just zoom out a little bit because that's what it's going to look like if you're viewing it on YouTube. And that doesn't look too bad. That's pretty catchy. So yeah, guys, I think that is about it. That wasn't actually as long as I intended. I think that's about it. So I know this was kind of fast. I didn't really want to do like a full, you know, step-by-step tutorial. Just because if you guys are going to attempt something like this, I assume you got to have a pretty decent understanding of Photoshop. Again, if you are not familiar with After Effects, don't try it. It's not worth your time. Don't try to do what I just did in After Effects. Just do it in Photoshop. As you guys can see, I mean, you can see all my layers down there. It's everything. You can do this all in Photoshop. I mean, it's the same thing. But if you guys are confused on any part, feel free to leave me a comment or just search it on Google. Like, if you guys are confused about something, just search it up on Google, like CC Lens in Photoshop. I'm sure you'll get an answer. The other thing is that Photoshop is better than After Effects for making thumbnails. And for making photos, Photoshop is better because it's literally made for photos. So like you'll have so many more options than I have on here. But enough rambling on. That is gonna do it for today's video. Thank you all so much for watching. If you guys did enjoy, please feel free to leave a like. I know a lot of you guys were waiting for this video, so I hope this helped you guys. But other than that, guys, got a bunch of awesome videos coming soon. And if you did enjoy, I'll catch y'all in my next video.
She's a psycho from a Midwest suburb. No straight jacket could hold her. Wild eyes, they will lure me in her trap. I go mad just to hold her, until I noticed that something was strange, out of my range. There was no way back, something went off in my brain. She was insane, here she goes again. A psycho from a Midwest suburb. I woke up and I told her, you won't